It is hitting hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, reminding you head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. When you find us, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment as well. Appreciate all the feedback that we get there. Of course, free and available on all your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Odyssey. Hit us up there and then download us and also give us a 5-star review. Hit me up on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. Yesterday, we got news from the Pro Football Hall of Fame talking about their semifinalists and things like that. We also, too, yesterday got the list of the senior and coach/contributor semifinalists. And the Falcons are pretty well represented in this. Mike Ken is on the list. Tommy Nobis is on the list. Billy White Shoes Johnson, George Coons, Chris Hinton, Clay Matthews Jr., who obviously didn't spend a lot of time here, but he was a former Atlanta Falcon. Former Falcons head coach Dan Reeves and Rich McKay was on the list as well. Now, here's the thing. Are the Falcons well represented in Canton, Ohio? No, they're not. They're not very well represented, but it's time to give the Falcons a little bit love. When you go through this list, there are some guys who absolutely, to me, should be in the Hall of Fame. And I was so glad when Claude Humphrey finally got in. I mean, you look at some of Claude Humphrey's numbers, they're absurd. And yes, unfortunately, he played in an era where sacks were not an official statistic in the NFL. So a lot of his numbers don't really show up. In fact, Pro Football Focus had to go, or not Pro Football Focus, but Pro Football Reference had to go back in time and really put together his numbers. And you look in his rookie year, he had 13 and a half sacks, but unfortunately there's no real credited number for that because sacks weren't a stat until 1982. So it does that. Those kinds of little things may not sound like much, but they don't necessarily help out the Falcons. But when you look at this list, it is time for Mike Ken. It is especially time for Tommy Nobis, and it's Dan Reeves as well. I mean, those are the first three that stick out to me that it's time to make sure that those guys get in the Hall of Fame. Now, I think Dan is going to get in the Hall of Fame, and I had a chance to meet Dan Reeves, had a chance to talk to him a few different times, and God bless him, RIP to the great, coach. But I've said this many times. When you talk about guys who were the best living ambassadors of the game of football, Bill Curry and Dan Reeves were the first two guys that always came to mind. Dan was a guy who played for one of the great organizations. Obviously, he's from Georgia, here from the state of Georgia, played at South Carolina, but he played for one of the great professional football organizations of all time in the Dallas Cowboys, playing for Tom Landry, played in famous games. He played in the Ice Bowl. Okay. Then he becomes an assistant coach with Tom Landry. They win Super Bowls in Dallas. Then obviously he takes over the Denver Broncos and takes John Elway and the Broncos to multiples of Super Bowls. And then obviously was here with Atlanta and took the Dirty Birds to the Super Bowl in 1998. Dan is an NFL legend. With all due respect, he should be a no-brainer to go to the Hall of Fame. I know he didn't win a Super Bowl, but with all due respect, Bud Grant and some of these other guys, Marv Levy, those guys are all Hall of Fame coaches. You go to 4 Super Bowls, you're a Hall of Fame coach, right? I mean, in my mind, there's not much question about that. Not to mention the fact that playing and coaching for Landry, just his whole thing. He's one of the great ambassadors of all time. Tommy Nobis, to me, I don't really understand what the deal is as to why Tommy Nobis isn't in the Hall of Fame. And I get that the Falcons were bad, but you can't have as many guys like the Dick Butkuses of the world talk so glowingly about Tommy Nobis and not find a spot for him. I get that the Falcons franchise stunk it up for a whole bunch of years. I get that. But Tommy Nobis is one of the great players in the history of the NFL. Maybe because the stats aren't there, that we don't have all of that statistical data. Maybe because we don't have the highlight reel stuff, that it's not there. But Nobis should absolutely already be in the Hall of Fame. All right, we'll get back to this discussion here in just a minute, but want to tell you about my friends over at Coffee AM, the best small batch coffee roaster in America. Listen, these guys are local to the Atlanta metro area. They're up in Canton. Great online coffee company. CoffeeAM.com is the place that you want to go. And listen, I got to be telling you honestly, I am drinking their coffee every single day. I'm a coffeeholic. I like my multiple cups of coffee in the morning. I'm sitting here right now with another cup of their coffee. Got the K cups. I got the ground. They have such a great selection of coffees, teas, and gift sets. You want to go to coffeeam.com today. Check out their wide selection of all the different blends and brews. You like flavored coffees, you like boutique coffees, you like lighter roast, you like darker roast, you like K cups, you like teas, gift sets. Everything is there at coffeeam.com. And here's what I got going for you. Head over to coffeeam.com/locked on. coffeeam.com/locked on, LOCKEDON. When you go there, search around on their website, check out what they've got, put your order together, check out their coffees, teas, and gift sets. And when you do that, I want you to use the coupon code at checkout, locked on, LOCKEDON, locked on. Put that coupon code in when you get to the checkout, and you're going to get 15% off your first order. 15% off just by using the code locked on at checkout. Coffees, teas, gift sets, whatever it is, 15% off your first order. Check out my friends at coffeeam.com, right here locally in Canton, in the state of Georgia. So the other guy, Mike Ken, is another guy who absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. And what's crazy is that he was a first-team All-Pro guy. He made 4 Pro Bowls, and he played 17 years as a starter in the NFL. You would think that just that reputation, think about how many guys play 17 years in the NFL. Now, I understand, when you say 4 Pro Bowls and an All-Pro season in 17 years, maybe that's not impressive, but 4 Pro Bowls in an All-Pro season is 4 Pro Bowls in an All-Pro season. And the fact that he played so long and was able to start in the league for 17 years should tell you about how good of a player he was. I mean, you're not going to play 17 years in the NFL by being some vagabond or just some Johnny-come-lately or whatever like that, or some ham and egger, right? You got to be a pretty good player to play that long. But again, I understand that the Falcons weren't a very good franchise for so long. Until Dion and Jerry, that really was what started to turn the national perception of the Falcons, right? The red, what's the offense that they were? Not the red gun offense, but that spread wide open offense that Mouse Davis and June Jones brought into this team. Dion, Jerry Glanville, with the belt buckle and too legit to quit. That really kind of turned some of the perception of the Falcons, right? They became kind of cool and hip. Black uniforms, playing on turf, right? They became cool and hip. And then Michael Vick, obviously, what he did for the franchise and bringing that to national prominence. He was certainly the most exciting player for a few years there, and then brought the greatest period of stability and winning to the franchise, where they were in the national conversation about actually being a good football franchise. But all of those years and decades before all of that, in the Denning, Marion Campbell, Norm Van Brocklin, and all of those years that the Falcons had, Steve Bartkowski was a really good player, but they were not a relevant franchise, right? William Andrews, a player. Jackson, a really good player. They had a lot of different good players individually, but they were a very relevant team. Right? Yeah, the Grit Splits team and all that, some records and things like that, but they were more remembered for Danny White coming back on them, right? The great comeback from Danny White and against the Cowboys. We're not a relevant franchise. And unfortunately, so many of those guys are paying the price for it. So it is time for Canton to recognize, if you just Ken, Tommy Nobis, and Dan Reeves, and I don't think Dan much of a problem getting in, but it is time for Nobis and Mike Ken to get in the Hall of Fame and be recognized for how great that they really were. All right, we thank you so much for making Hittin' Hard a part of your daily routine and making us your first listen. We want you to make ATL Day Ones your second listen. My friends Jarvis Davis and Tanitra Batiste talking about all things in the heart of the city of Atlanta, covering all your favorite teams, Hawks, Bulldogs, Falcons, everything that they have there. They are free and available on our YouTube page as well, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Subscribe today. Free and available, too, to download on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Odyssey. Also, give me a follow, if you would, please, on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. Everybody have a great weekend. We will talk to you early Monday morning. This has been Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.